I'd like to call this Jacksonville Planning Advisory Board meeting to order. It's 6:01. And at this time, we'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Bob Dupuy and invocation by Dr. Lasan.
If you would join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we're just so thankful to be here today. We just thank you for the beautiful weather that you've blessed us with. And we ask for your wisdom to guide us through tonight's meeting and the agendas that are brought forward to us to help the betterment of our community here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. We just ask for your blessings upon this night and each of our lives, and also upon this community. And that we always do the right things that will be beneficial to the citizens here in Jacksonville. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, at this point in time, if you'll take a look at the agenda, please. Are there any additions, subtractions, or any changes to the agenda? If not, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved, sir.
Motion by Bob, second.
Second.
Right.
Second.
Second by Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes. Minutes. You have the minutes before you of the September 12th meeting. I know it was only a month ago. Anybody have a problem with any of the minutes? If not, a motion to approve would be in order.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from last month's meeting, September 12th.
Motion by Dr. Lasan, second by Bob. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes. City Council update. Councilman Sosa.
Hey, thank you for having me. No major updates, just our city manager's been with us about a month now, and I know he's eager to hit the ground running. He's doing a good job and getting acclimated to everybody. I know most of y'all probably met him, and I think he'll do a good job and help us, continue the city's forward progress. So that's really about it.
Thank you very much. There being no old business, we'll move right to new business. UDO text amendment. Ryan's up.
Good evening, Chairman. Board members, does anybody need a packet? I know that somebody had mentioned that and I didn't get that to you before. Everybody get? Okay.
Yeah, it's inspired reading. You gotta have it.
Okay, this next, the first item tonight is the Unified Development Text Amendment, Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment related to, on the clicker, for adjustments to Article 3.5 Residential Multifamily High Density Zoning District. Basically today you have, or the buildings, the issue, this is a applicant request, so this isn't a staff initiated request. This is a request on behalf of the Community Investment Group. Mr. Brett Reese is unable to be here tonight. I did talk with him earlier today, but they are the ones that own town center townhouses, apartments now. So about 120 of those buildings within the 30-foot setback, and because of the condition of the buildings, they basically are going to lose the ability to renovate about 130 of those units, 120, something like that, because the buildings fall between 20 and 30 feet. So we talked about variances and different opportunities, and they settled on applying for a Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment to basically modify the setback requirement. So we've drafted the amendment, and that's before you tonight in Attachment Attachment B, and we're here before the Planning Board tonight for recommendation. But basically, they've asked for a reduction from 30 to 20 feet. Staff was a little bit concerned about just making a blanket change from 30 to 20 feet, so we started looking at, street classifications. Certain street classifications maybe drop that setback to 20 feet, but not across the board. And we worked with our transportation department and basically came up with, as long as you are on a major collector street or smaller, then the 20-foot rule would apply. If you're on a street greater than a major collector, the 30-foot would apply. It's based on functional class. I've got a map in front of you that shows the different street classifications. So as you'll see, you know, the minor and the major is kind of a brown, more of a brown color. And then your major roads, you know, are your yellows and your blues. So this would only be, that reduction would only apply to those in the major collector or less. And this isn't the first time we've had a situation like this with setbacks. You know, the corridor commercial zone used to be at 50 feet, and at some point in the past decade or so, it was actually reduced to 35 feet. And then with a type 2 site plan approval, city council can actually approve a building on Western Boulevard down to 10 feet. So, you know, these large setbacks are really not that, you know, it's a thing of the past more so than current trends. So staff is supporting or recommending approval of the text amendment. And interestingly enough, when you look at the CAMA policy for the CAMA land use plan, there's actually two statements that are specific to the New River area, which says that, you know, we need to encourage and support redevelopment activities in the New River area. So based on that and the request made and coming up with, I think, a way to kind of allow some reduced setbacks in certain roadways, we have supported this text amendment. So it would be a minor change. It literally would take the 30-foot and strike through that and say that it's 20 feet for those type street classifications and 30 for all others. So a very simple text amendment. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
How does this affect the road being reclassified?
You saying that if something gets a 20-foot setback and then it gets reclassified, it becomes non-conforming, the same situation that we have here. And then the non-conforming rules would apply, whatever they may be in the Unified Development Ordinance.
Of course, and I'm assuming the same thing would happen, although I don't think it would, where a road would get declassified lower.
It's like,
They would
I mean,
gain
with
a lot more
bypasses and things like that, it's entirely possible. I mean, I think that, now, I wouldn't say it would never happen. It certainly could. It could go up or down.
Yeah, you're right, because at one time I would have, you know, one time Lejeune Boulevard would have been a major artery, and now a lot of it is not because of the bypass, right?
But it's still, it's higher than a major, but it doesn't have the volumes, you know, as the urban principal arterial or the freeway expressway that the Parkway has.
are the homes, Ryan, that are in New River, are they using the existing footprint and that's what we're talking about? Or are we talking about?
In their particular case, yes, they plan to use, they're wanting to renovate the existing buildings where they sit. They're not wanting to do any redevelopment.
So if we like what we see, then that's, yeah, okay, all right.
And one other thing that went into staff's thought, you know, process in terms of recommending or not is, you know, if it's a 55-mile-an-hour road and it's 5 lanes, you know, the noise and things like that, then keeping that setback makes more sense. But on a lower speed facility, less volumes, which is where the functional class comes into play, they are required to put a 20-foot buffer. So, you know, they'd even talked about going maybe lower than 20, and we told them that we wouldn't support anything lower than a 20 because the 20-foot buffer yard standards in the design criteria have to be met. So really, there wasn't a way to go less than 20 unless they started making additional changes, additional requests to change other parts of the code.
Any other questions? Please remember that this is even though we've got, it pertains primarily to one area, it would apply to anything in the UDO. And that's what happens when we make a change in the UDO. Any other discussion? Who wants to try to make a motion? I'm the chairman, I don't get to do that.
Make a motion that we approve. This has been presented to us to approve the UDO text amendment found in attachment B to be supportive of the development in New River.
Is that good enough?
I'll second it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I think Bob beat you to it. Okay, with a motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Number 2, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item number 2 is a type 3 site plan with an approved special use permit. We don't see these often, but this is from 1345 Lejeune Boulevard, the AA storage. This application was submitted by HHX Company Incorporated and the Rosemeyer Corp. They are proposing to knock down an existing 4,500 square foot unit and rebuild a 4,340 square foot new building that's all interior climate controlled versus the outside storage they have there now. This property is zoned corridor commercial, and within this zoning district, self-storage facilities require a special use permit. City Council issued a special use permit for this property on February 20th, 2001. It is approximately 9.21 acres. For you on the screen is the the overall plan of the development for their last expansion, I believe, which was in April, or February 5th, or I'm sorry, again, I was correct. April 20th, 2010, they had a modification for an expansion. Zooming in, this would be the small building that's located closest to Lejeune Boulevard. This, if I can get the highlighter working. The hashed building to the south is the car wash on Lejeune near the Discovery Church and Suburban Extended Stay, just to give you some idea where we're at. That would be this property right here. This is the building that's going to be knocked down and converted to all interior storage, and it will be complying with our new standards for self-storage. No garage door doors on the outside, visible from the street, and accessed solely interior. Staff is recommending that the Planning Advisory Board recommend approval of this site plan with approved special use permit, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Once again, it's in the same
Same
footprint.
spot is actually reducing the overall square footage by 160 square feet. I think the only thing is it will be a different looking building as it has to comply with our existing self-storage facility standards, but the applicant has had no issue. They actually submitted their building permit not realizing the site was under special use permit. So that we've got that building permit ready to approve. It's contingent on the approval of this site plan. And if the board recommends approval on this case, it will actually go in front of the city council next Tuesday night in the form of a consent item, since it is purely administrative.
Any other questions? Hearing none, motion's in order.
I'll make a motion, we approve the type 3 site plan with the approved special use permit as presented to us this evening.
Motion from Dr. Lasan.
Motion.
Got it this time, Steve. Second by Steve. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes. Number 3, let me see what number 3 is, okay? Oh, there it is. Jeremy, you're up again.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 3 is a type 3 site plan and special use permit application submitted by the Roman Catholic Diocese of Raleigh, NC. This request is to convert for a proposed 104,447 square foot school, be it elementary, middle, or high school, at 501 Ann Street. Notice the location before you on the screen. I believe most of you are very familiar with this site. Jacksonville Baptist Church, I believe that's what it was, years ago. Adjacent to the Onslow County Courthouse and the neighborhood on Bluff Street and the further neighborhood on Ann Street. This property is zoned downtown business, which allows a school, be it a high school, middle school, or elementary. However, I did not include it, but it is included in your agenda item, I believe. But the property is located in the flight path overlay. And per ordinance, schools located in the FPOD require a special use permit due to the size or the population that attends, large gathering of people. Here you go. I forgot I had inserted it into the PowerPoint, but the large hash area is the flight path overlay. So if we were to ever get a large shopping center, another school, a large church, even though the underlying zoning district may allow it, the FPOD deems it necessary to get a special use permit. So the Planning Advisory Board and the City Council can consider the impact. We have been in discussion with New River Air Station Camp Lejeune representative. Ryan is his name, Tim McCurry. He said it poses no issue to their FPOD. It does not. It is in one of their non-active facilities.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
So, as Jeremy just stated, Tim McCurry, which is with the Marine Corps Liaison for Government and External Relations, he basically, we send notices to the base with all of our planning board items and city council items. And his response was that he'd received our message and that the location falls outside of any accident potential zone. So the APZ zone, it's not within. So there's no land use restrictions that they would recommend as incompatible development. It's still in the FPOD, so we still have to go through ours, but they don't intend to raise any concerns because of where it sits. But obviously with part of the other component of the flight path overlay is, they will have to, and we're all, for the most part, we're aware, but just the noise and vibrations that occur when you have inbound and outbound aircraft that are going to go straight towards the air station or leaving the air station. So.
Okay, thank you. And I understand we have some visitors tonight. I do recognize Martin Aragona, his family, their son Stefan in my 8th grade class, and our business manager, Jose Cabrera, and Stacy Pollard from IOP. And any other questions?
I would elaborate on to the use plan prepared by Charles Riggs' office is in your item and before you on the screen. The site has not required any off-street parking because of the downtown business zoning. However, they are maintaining the 68 spaces on site in addition to the on-street parking that is in the area and the other parking in downtown accessible to this property and other uses downtown. City staff is recommending approval of this request with findings of fact A through G being found in the affirmative, and that the approval creates a value service to the community. Be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Not exactly to this. Has there ever been a case where we've had to change something due to flight path overlay?
This, other than a telecommunications tower, this would be the first project we brought to City Council as a result of being in the FPOD and being one of those type of uses that triggers the special use permit. I believe we've had the flight path overlay right around 10 years now.
I think even before we had the FPD, the noise component has always kind of been the primary, because I think most of Jackson falls outside of the APZ zone, so.
Did it ever deter anyone from planting themselves?
I mean, we had one request, I think, before the FPOD for multifamily out on Blue Creek School Road, and it never came to fruition, but I don't know that it's because of, I don't even think it's on a flight path overlay. I think that at the time, base officials just said, hey, look, you may hear some rumblings of aircraft. And so it really wasn't that you'd have aircraft flying overhead. I'm not sure why that development never took off. But then later on, we've had two on that same road, right up the road there, right there across where the old strawberry farm was. We've got one that was recently finished, and we got another one that's being constructed now. I believe we're getting ready to start. So I think in a lot of cases, it's more just awareness that, we live in Jacksonville, it's kind of like the sign says at the entrance of the air station, but in case you're not from around here, it would be an important fact for you to know that you may have some noise issues.
I live in it, and it's not too bad. You're getting ready to live in it.
That's right. In the Northwoods.
We get an air show every evening.
We're on that high point they use as a guidepost.
It's called the Sound of Freedom.
There you go.
Yep.
I think you're in the flight path overlay, Mr. Forney, right there.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Go for it.
I'd like to recommend that the Planning Advisory Board vote in the affirmative to recommend to the City Council that we approve the special use permit and the Type 3 site plan based on findings of fact A through G being found in the affirmative.
We have a valid motion.
Second.
Second by Dr. Vasani. Any other discussion?
Can I point out one thing, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So what's interesting with this site is it's an existing site. They're not proposing any changes other than maybe restripe the parking lot. But a few years back, we used to require, full surveys, more in-depth for an existing building, and we made some changes to the Unified Development Ordinance that dealt with these type situations, special use permit, where there's no proposed changes to help lessen that burden and lower the cost for these developments, to where it's more of an existing features type situation than a full site plan with sidewalks and all kinds of different items being triggered. So just wanted to point that out because we haven't had very many of these. So anytime that we have a special use permit, they're able to utilize this. It's definitely been a good thing, I think, from a staff standpoint, and I'm sure from an applicant standpoint as well. That's all.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
And this will go before City Council next Tuesday. Is there a public hearing advertised for that?
Yes, sir, and one of our new, as I mentioned last month, the second month, we have one of our new signs is on the site. It has been there for a little over a week now.
Okay, I lost my place.
Reports from
Okay.
I believe I hear a motion on the floor.
You got to wait till after reports, okay? Ryan, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I believe I shared with the board last Friday, I want to read a statement from the mayor. Seems like just yesterday we had a meeting, and I was letting the board know that Mr. Alkeys had resigned, and unfortunately he passed away last week. And he will be missed. Got a picture of him here on the screen. Just last, I think May 3rd, I believe it was, he was honored as, by the mayor for Mr. Alkeys Day. And him and his wife both, just served this community so well, and he's going to be missed terribly. But I just wanted to, share that, unfortunately. But wanted you and any of our listeners that may or may not have known that we lost him last week, that he will be missed. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I know our time with Al on the board was very nice. Al did a great job, and you could always count on him doing a lot of work studying the issue before we did it. Any other discussion? Hearing none. A motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Moved. Second?
Second.
Second, and we're out.